What's up, everybody, and welcome back to episode 6 of the Drop the Mitts Hockey Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Mike Sullivan, back alongside my boy Chris Davis, fresh off of Night Shift Brewery up at the Natick Mall in the Level 99. We had a time last night. Me, you, Mel, Boosie, and his now fiance Bridget. And now we're hopping back on the pod. Obviously, we got the Marc McLaughlin episode. So he'll be, the interview will come later on in this episode. But before we get into the interview, we're going to talk some Metropolitan Division predictions, contract extensions, a big trade rumor that's been circling around NHL Twitter. And also, we're going to talk a little bit of the Hlinka Gretzy Cup. But before we get into that, we also have a big announcement. And Chris, if you want to take that away, it's all yours, pal.
Yeah, man. We are super excited to announce that we are going to be partnering with Primetime Productions.
Yeah.
And, they've got some awesome fucking podcasts already with them right now. Obviously, you and Mel with Something's Brewing. Our boys Boozy and Brett with Only Brewing. Grace and Lauren with All Goals, No Misses. And then our boy Ace at Two Pad Stack. So, this is something that's been kind of in the works for a little while, and just really excited to get going with you guys and finally, being able to announce it. It's an incredible feeling, and I know we're going to do great things, and just couldn't be more excited.
Yeah, dude, we're so pumped. Like we got a hell of a lineup on this network so far, and I know right now it's kind of small, right? We got 3 Bruins shows, obviously, Only Bruins, me and Mel's show, like you said, Something's Brewing, and Two Pad Stack with Ace. But we also have us on the network now. We're covering all NHL, all hockey, really. Drop the Mitts, obviously. And then we also have that All Goals, No Misses. That's also covering the entire league with Grace and Lauren. And if you guys haven't had an opportunity to listen to all those shows, I highly recommend doing it. It's awesome. It's a great way to get through the workday. Go home, you're doing some laundry, throw on a podcast with a couple of people talking hockey. It's great. But yeah, no, we're super pumped. And with the whole Primetime Productions network, it's not just going to be hockey. There's going to be football shows. There's going to be NBA shows, MLB shows, along with all of our hockey shows on the network already, and more to come. And it won't just be Bruins related. We're looking and adding some more shows for hopefully every team in the league eventually will be represented by at least one show on the network. But what is it right now? We have six podcasts on the network, I believe.
Yeah, so
somewhere around there.
Us announcing, yeah, we're at 6.
Yeah, so the original 6 shows. It's awesome.
And, like I said, man, the group chat's been popping off. It's just we have unbelievable chemistry. Everyone is such a riot, and just it's so much fun working with everyone. And obviously, you mentioned last night we got together for some beers at a Night Shift, and yeah, you guys are a riot, and yeah, it was a fucking awesome time, dude. I'm so excited to get going and kind of broaden our horizons a little bit, and kind of tap into like our potential and see what's next, and see where this thing takes us.
Yeah, man, we're kind of betting on ourselves right now, as a giant group, and there's no better group to do it with. I trust all the guys and gals on this team. I mean, there's no limit. It's to the moon, as Mel says. We're going to the moon, baby.
On the moon, one way or another.
Yeah, we'll get there somehow. We're just maybe we'll call Elon. We'll get a little ship.
We'll be traveling with Elon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, I'm really not relieved, but just excited to finally be able to announce this, because it's obviously we've been kind of given little previews here and there, and to be able to finally like announce that this is the direction we're taking, it's really exciting. And obviously we still have some unbelievable guests lined up across all the shows, which is awesome. So I'm really excited to see where this takes us. And honestly, I'm honored too to even be like asked to be a part of the network. I mean, obviously what Boozy and Brett have built over at Only Bruins, and what you and Mel have built, it's just an honor. And I think it's going to be awesome to be able to work with all you clowns.
Yeah, man. And like I said, dude, our team is great. We're pumped to have everybody here and doing this with us. So, like I said, no limits, and we'll see where this adventure takes us.
Yeah,
So,
I think yesterday we got a little bit of the a taste of our chemistry, and it's kind of a little incident that happened where someone got attacked on Twitter, and they this certain individual found out what primetime production was all about, and kind of ended them a little quick. And it's one of those things where you don't touch our goalie.
yeah, yeah, hey, you do not touch our goalie.
Find out.
You can't touch the goalie, or else we'll
Yeah, you
drop the
don't touch
mitts.
the goalie after the whistle.
Yeah, no.
So yeah, it's just it's just such an awesome feeling to be part of like a team again, and
Yeah.
just the chemistry again is unbelievable. It's so funny. It's some of the stuff that's said in the chat is just so freaking funny, man. And then obviously we got the NHL 23 stuff got going on, and hopefully we
Oh
can take
yeah.
that to another level. And yeah, I'm excited, bro.
Yeah, man. So you want to get into some contract extensions? You want to start with that, and then we'll kind of bounce our way around.
Yeah, so over the past week, we've had a ton of obviously, with arbitration deals, and then just extensions signed, and some of them I was a little shocked by, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, but for the vast majority of them, I think they were fair numbers for both teams. The first one obviously happened today. Tom Wilson signed a 7-year, $45.5 million extension to stay with the Washington Capitals. I kind of saw, NHL Twitter and Capitals Twitter blowing up a little bit today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Seems like kind of a high number for a 30-year-old. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
You know, when the news first broke, right? I was working, and I was looking through it, and I was like, okay, 6.5 million's not too bad, especially with the cap expected to jump, right? But then you look at the term, and it's 7 years. I mean, he's going to be at almost his age 40 season. And if you're looking at a contract like that, and say it's to a guy who plays a more similar style to, I don't know, just to kind of throw someone's name out there, like a Jake DeBrusk, like just kind of a two-way guy, doesn't really center his game around throwing his body weight at other guys, or playing physically. But I mean, Tom Wilson, that's all he does, really. I mean, I know he can score, I know he can produce, but he's a big hitter. He relies on that, physical aspect of his game where he's risking his body every shift. He's putting a big strain on, whether it be his hips, his shoulders, his knees. And like you said, his age 30 season is coming up, and that's when his contract is going to start. So it's kind of a gamble on Washington's part, I'm thinking, because who knows, 3-4 years down the line, who knows how his body's going to be able to hold up to the way that he plays. If that contract ends up, with most of the time him being on the LTIR, or he's hurt, he's missing 10, 20, 30 games a season, that could hurt them like a lot down the line.
Yeah, I think when you first look at it, obviously, yeah, it's a big number, and you kind of put into perspective the way that he plays and the way that he has been playing his whole career.
Right.
Honestly, I kind of took a step back, and I think you're looking at the next captain of the Capitals,
Really?
after Ovi. Just hearing some of the things that people say about Tom Wilson in the locker room, how great of a leader he is. I mean, he wears an A right now.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think they're kind of banking on. I can't imagine he's going to play this style of play for the next fucking 6 years, dude. There's just no way he's not going to be able
There's
to
no
hold
way.
up. He's a good player, and he's someone that is dominant in front of the net. He goes into those gritty areas, but I mean, he doesn't have to lay those huge hits like he is known for. I mean,
Right.
he can kind of transform his game as he's getting a little bit older. You see a lot of players do that, when their body's starting to kind of like, um, obviously they're not as young as they used to be, and they kind of have to transform their game and find another way to produce and be effective.
Yeah, it's I was kind of thinking initially, because comparing him to guys, I don't know, like a Milan Lucic or Ryan Reeves, maybe kind of trajecting towards those guys. But then you also got to think, like you just said, you can transform your game if you recognize it early enough, and I think Wilson's capable of doing that. Maybe he could turn into someone like a Jamie Benn, where he still has that size, he still has that skill set to still be an effective player in his later years, where he doesn't have to rely on, just crushing people every shift.
Yeah,
He can adapt.
yeah, I agree. And just looking at his game, I don't ever see him being a bottom six forward like
Right.
like a Lucic and a Revo are.
Right.
I always see him kind of having that role as a top six forward. And
Yeah.
again, he's a guy. Yeah, he's a big power forward. He's a big body, but he can put the puck in the net.
Yeah,
Um,
he can.
he
Yeah.
has other skill sets. And I think over these next couple of years, you're going to kind of see him transform his game, where he's not going to be the fucking goon that he's been. And he hasn't been a complete goon. Like, he's put up decent numbers.
Yeah.
But like I said, I really do and truly believe that you're looking at the next captain post Ovi. And I think that's kind of what they're banking on with this deal. Obviously, with that long term, they're looking to kind of have that seamless transition. Someone who's been with the organization, someone who's literally played his entire career with Alexander Ovechkin and knows what Ovi has built there. Obviously,
Yeah.
cup winning team. So I think it's a good deal for both sides. Yeah, it might be a little high towards the tail end of the deal, but for right now, I mean, with the cap going up, I think this is a fair deal for both sides. And yeah, I don't hate the deal, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm looking through his stats year by year. He's never eclipsed 52 points. Never eclipsed more than 24 goals, but he's consistently around like 40 to 45 points a season, which isn't bad. And last year before he got hurt too, he had 22 points in 33 games. So I mean, he can produce. So it's all about him just kind of, if he wants to allow that contract to age healthily, it's just adapting his style of play, focusing more on how to be a productive player without risking your body as you get older.
Yeah, and honestly, the way that the game is even moving towards now, I mean,
Right.
the power forward is a dying breed.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, that brute force that these huge guys that just lay. I mean, man, I can count on one hand how many effective, like, legit big power forwards there are in the NHL that are still effective in the game today.
Yeah.
But like I said, luckily, I think Wilson has a chance to transform his game, and I think he can still be effective. And obviously, he doesn't have the sexiest numbers, when you look at the stat sheet, but I think you're also paying for his leadership
Yeah.
in the intangibles that he brings off the ice to the team, and obviously, with a team that's going to start rebuilding, I think he's going to be helpful to help develop those young guys that they got in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you mentioned, like they're kind of on the verge of a rebuild. Ovi's getting older. Backstrom is back for he's back at a healthy season. TJ Oshie's getting up there. Max Pacioretty, who knows if he's going to be able to stay healthy. They got young guys like Sonny Milano, Strome,
And Carlson on the back end. I mean, like,
yeah,
they're gonna, it's gonna be. I think they're still kind of waiting out this Ovi record.
yeah, I think so too.
I think they're trying to hold on as long as they can. You know what? I respect it.
Yeah,
Ovi's given so much to the game and to that organization that they should. I mean, they should. You have a guy that always has that compete level. Why would you not give him a chance to, like, make the playoffs? I mean, it's not like they're in full fucking tank mode. You know what I mean? And I think with this deal, it's like I said, it's a good deal for both sides. Maybe not towards the tail end of it, but I think for this year and until Ovi retires, I think it's a fair number.
Yeah, I think so too. And like how you spoke on, obviously them holding off until Ovi has the chance to break that record. Just as from the league's perspective, with Ovi spending his entire career in Washington, I don't think that it would be right for him to break the record in another team's jersey.
I completely agree. I completely
Yeah.
agree. It just it wouldn't look right. Like,
Right.
it just, I don't know. I think even and that's coming from two non-Caps fans, right? I
Oh,
think
yeah.
that's coming from two that just love the game of hockey. It just wouldn't feel right.
Right, exactly. It's like you've been watching this guy in Washington. Is it literally since he came in the league and since I started watching the league, he's been a Capital. He's been a part of those dominating teams. And if you saw him get shipped off to like I don't know, say like throw any team in there. We'll say like the Kings. Like with that, and he breaks the record with the Kings. Like, yeah, it's cool, but it's not going to hit nearly the same as it would if he gets that record breaking goal in DC in the bright red uniforms in front of all the Washington fans.
Yeah.
You know, it like just that would be such an iconic hockey moment. And it's not like it's just like some random record either. You know what I mean? This is Wayne Gretzky's all-time goal record. Like this is a massive moment in the NHL.
Dude, this is a record that people thought would never be touched.
Right.
Ever. Like, and obviously I'm not taking any Gretzky is the greatest player to ever play, but
yeah.
So what Ovi has done with a game that has gotten significantly faster, players are stronger, bigger. Again, the equipment changes. The fact that he was able to put up this many goals is unbelievable. And we kind of touched on it last week talking, with our Bergeron tribute, how special it is to have a player of that magnitude spend his whole entirety of his career in one jersey. You don't see it. I mean, in other sports, you just don't see it. I think hockey's like the main one where you see these guys, spending the entirety of their career with their original team. Yep. And I think again that it would take away from how special the record is. I'm not taking anything away from Ovi, but I think if he were to break that record in a Caps uniform, like you said, in DC with that fan base, he brought them a cup. Like it just would be unbelievable for the game of hockey.
Yeah, dude. Like I'm just kind of going through his goals per season, and it is insane. His rookie year, he had he came into the league with excuse me, 52 goals in his rookie year, 46 the next, 65 in his third. Then he goes 56, 50, 32, 38, 32, 51, 53, 50. It just goes on and on and on. And obviously, Gretzky's record for all-time goals is 894, and right now Ovi's at 822. So if he can just maintain that pace that he's on, dude, for the next 2 seasons, the NHL is gonna have a new all-time goal leader, and it's awesome, amazing to see.
Yeah, it's incredible that we're going to be able to live to see that because like it's not a record that anyone thought was going to be broken anytime soon, especially this soon.
Right.
And it really hasn't been that soon. It's been years, obviously, but yeah, I'd love to see him break it with his original team with the Caps. I mean, it just would make it that much more special.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. And there's literally nobody playing in the game right now that's even close. So you gotta let him do it as a Cap. You have to.
100%. The next free agent that signed a extension, one I was kind of bummed about because it kind of came near the Bergeron retirement. Sebastian Aho signed an 8-year, $78 million extension with the Carolina Hurricanes, and this is a deal that is an absolute steal for this team.
Yeah.
Like I said, to be able to lock up a number one center for under $10 million. I was listening to the Spit and Chicklets podcast, man, and Grinelli brought up, he was like, we're going to get Sebastian Aho next offseason. We're going to sign, give him a bag and, we'll have our number one center. And then all of a sudden the nut punch of, Carolina getting him for less than $10 million. I think this is an absolute steal for this Carolina team. He's an unbelievable player. And again, with the cap going up, this deal in the next 3 to 4 years is going to look like one of the best contracts in hockey.
Absolutely, dude. And it's like for Carolina too to lock him up, they have a solid plan. We were talking before we even started recording, like you kind of look at their lineup and it's nothing. It's not going to blow you out of the water per se, but it's the system that they play. Obviously, Rod Brindamore being the coach that he is has those guys hemmed in 24/7. Yeah, Rod the Bod. He's like a drill sergeant, but it works. And to be able to lock up Aho, like you said, under $10 million, it's an unbelievable deal for Carolina, and it's gonna help them too because we've seen kind of them go through 2 or 3 good seasons, right, where they're relevant in the league, and then nobody like they can't get those extensions signed, they can't get players to stay there, and they kind of fall off again, and then their fan base takes a hit because it's like how how dedicated are you going to stay as a relatively new fan base if your team continues down the path of being good for a couple of years and then kind of just shits the bed a little bit for a few until they're good again? But with locking up Aho, it helps solidify them in their future as well. And they still guys like Svechnikov, guys like they just brought in Michael Bunting, Seth Jarvis, Natchez, Teravainen. They're a good team, and they're going to be good for a while still. And then you look at their back end too, dude. They have a system there that works so well, and bringing in Aho for under $10 million gives the management there just a lot of flexibility to help build around a number one center in Sebastian Aho.
Yeah, and a lot of people forget that team didn't have Andrei Svechnikov for the playoffs.
Right.
So that was a team that, and obviously they bring in all these, pieces around. Now you have your number one center locked up. You bring in a guy like Dmitry Orlov, who obviously we know is a great piece for us.
Yeah.
For the Bruins during their playoff run. Obviously it didn't work out the way we wanted it to, but unbelievable piece to add. And then again, like they didn't have their top goal scorers, Andrei Svechnikov, for the playoffs. Like you got to imagine this team's going to be dangerous next year, like down the stretch.
Oh yeah.
And that Metro division is going to be fucking loaded. Like just
Yeah.
like we talked about the Atlantic, we were going through this division, and obviously we'll get into it a little bit later, but it's a loaded division. It's going to be a dogfight.
Yeah, absolutely. The whole Eastern Conference, dude, when you really look at all the teams in here, there's 2 teams that are just trash, and it's Montreal and Philly. And outside of them, it's anybody's guess.
Oh, dude, even the thing is, you look at like Montreal's roster, like
Not bad.
they're close. They're
Yeah.
close. Like I'm not like again, this is going to be a scary conference, for the next 3 years, 3-4 years. It's going to be a fucking dogfight in both these divisions.
Yeah. And even the teams that are falling off a little, like air quotes falling off, you're looking at teams like, I guess, like Pitt and Washington, who still have some of the NHL's greatest all-time players in Ovi and Crosby still leading those teams. So it's like, and you can never count those 2 out either.
Yeah, no, and obviously there's a big trade rumor going on with one of those teams in the Metro.
Yes.
We'll get into that a little bit after, but even like I said, that Pittsburgh team, they made a couple moves that I just still don't see them breaking the top 3 of that division.
Yeah.
For me, not even the top 4. So yeah, like I said, I this thing could go one of 4 ways, but I really like what Carolina's done. I love this Aho deal for them. I think it's gonna look like a fucking steal to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Into the
No,
entire
absolutely.
league for that matter. I mean, look at the Bruins, bro. We are without a number one center, and Carolina just locked one up for under 10 mil.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a tough. It's a junk punch for sure.
I mean, I know I'm kind of bouncing around here, but you talk about how Sebastian Aho was able to get that ticket for under $10 million. How about that deal that Jack Hughes in New Jersey? What is that? What was it? 8 years, 8 mil, something like that.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit over 8 mil. I'm gonna check right now, but yeah, that's another one, dude. Like that was without the cap going up, right? Like
Right.
obviously we knew the cap was gonna go up at some point.
Yep.
Obviously it didn't happen last year, but that's another perfect example of a team that's gonna be fucking phenomenal, dude. And they just locked up a number one center, 8-year deal, $64 million. Like that's incredible. Like it's just I don't understand. It's not that I don't understand. I think it's just again these guys want to win and they want to be put in positions where they're playing with other good players. And
Yep.
Obviously, I think what Aho has done in Carolina, what Jack Hughes is bringing to New Jersey, why wouldn't you want to stay? I mean,
Right.
8 years at 8 mil a year, that's a big ticket to sign. Uh,
And those are contracts down the line too that you're going to look at and say, how the hell did they get this guy to sign at that low of a number, especially with the cap jumping up? Like you see, I've seen predictions for Austin Matthews next year in his contract upwards of somewhere between 13, 14, and 15 million.
yeah,
And it's like if he signs that deal at that big of a number, you, I don't know if you're going to be able to build a good team around him. You know what I mean?
yeah, you're seeing a lot of these massive deals that are being signed. Obviously, first example that pops into my head is the Oilers with, obviously having two fucking huge tickets. Obviously, they're well worth it with what
Yeah.
they bring every night.
Right.
But again, you don't leave much room to bring in other talent. Like they just seem like a team, the Oilers, that are just going to kind of stay stagnant. Like I
Mm.
don't know, I can't explain what they're missing. Obviously, their back end. I mean, I can explain. They don't have a fucking goalie, and they
Yeah.
still fucking refuse to address that issue.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
but yeah, you got to think like how a lot of these teams that were able to be so successful, like the Bruins, obviously they had guys on very team friendly deals.
Yep.
Um, obviously like the Avalanche had guys on incredibly low deals. McKinnon was making a little bit over 6 mil for the longest time before he signed his ticket.
Yep.
I mean that it seems like that's the recipe for success. Everyone kind of buys into this like, this system and they're signing super team friendly deals to be able to bring in other talent. Um, and yeah, I think that's exactly what Carolina and New Jersey are doing at this time. Like man, Jack Hughes, in my opinion, he's a top 10 player in the NHL right now. Like
Yeah. Oh yeah.
you got him at 8 mil uh, annual value. That's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not even something I could fucking pull off on NHL.
No,
Like,
on easy mode. Like no
it's
chance.
and yeah, it's definitely like you're gonna see the Devils and Carolina making some more moves. Like they're gonna have a lot more flexibility, like you said, to bring in other pieces. So they're
Yep.
gonna be dangerous down the stretch for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So the next one was really interesting to me. Troy Terry and the Anaheim Ducks. So Terry signed a 7-year contract extension through the 2029-2030 season ahead of his arbitration hearing.
Yep.
Got a 7-year, $49 million deal. And this was honestly one of I think probably the most interesting arbitration case. Just as far as how wide the gap was between what the player wanted and what the team felt like he was worth. And
Yeah.
honestly, good for Terry, man. Like he obviously he came in wanting 8 mil. The team came in offering, thinking that he's worth 4.5, and eventually they agree on that number of 7. So I think this is a huge win for the players, especially in, you look at a lot of these arbitration hearings that have occurred, and they usually try to find middle ground, but this is one that really leaned towards the player, which obviously is a huge victory for players across the league. What
Yep.
do you think of this deal?
I mean, he's it's tough. 7 years, 7 mil for Terry. I mean, he's a really good player. He's a very, very good player. Um, I don't really know what to think of it. I think I need to see what he does this season with Anaheim, because Anaheim as a whole is just a tricky team to kind of figure out right now. Obviously, they got Zegras. John Gibson is still there for now, but it seems like they're trending in the opposite direction of where they want to be, and they've been trending that way for a long time now. And I think they're just trying to lock up this youth core that they have right now. Guys like Terry, guys like Zegras, because those two guys are their future for sure. Now, is that a recipe for success? I don't know, because I don't know if those are two guys that you want to build your team around. That being said, I mean, Terry's getting like 60, 70 points a season.
Yep.
So obviously he's producing. That's $1 million and change less than Aho. And that's Aho is a franchise number one center. Terry is a first line winger. So I'm kind of talking out of my ass right now a little bit, but I don't know. I'm 50-50 on that one. I need to see what he does this year and what Anaheim can do and if they can start trending in the right direction or not.
Yeah, I'm looking at a stat line starting from the 21 season. 2021-22 in 75 games put up 37 goals, 30 assists, 67 points. And then obviously last season he played in 70 games, 23 goals, 38 assists for 61 points. Off the top of my head, and I think this is just like the Bruins fan in me, it makes me wonder what a player like Jake DeBrusk is going to get next
Yeah.
season and what he's going to demand and what he thinks he's worth. Because obviously, I'd have to pull up DeBrusk's stat line for the past couple of years, but I'd be curious what he would ask for, because I feel like those are very similar type like first line players. Like, and if I'm looking at it from that standpoint, like I'm not paying DeBrusk $7 million.
Mm,
Like
yeah.
I just am not, and it's nothing against the player. Like obviously he's a great player and he's produced and he's loved across fucking Boston, but I just I don't love this deal for, obviously it's a win for Troy Terry, betting on himself and
Yep.
um obviously he thought he was worth 8 mil and the arbitrator agreed, and I just don't know. I think part of the problem is with the Ducks, they're not very like well known. Like we haven't seen a lot from them. Like they're very under the radar. Like they're in the middle of a rebuild. They've had super high draft picks the past couple of years. So once they just brought in Alex Killorn to a huge deal. Like I don't really know if they're still in a rebuild or what they're doing. Like I
Like
don't understand. I don't really understand what direction they're trending in. And obviously time will tell with this Leo Carlson pick, but that was another thing that was kind of like a head scratcher to me. Is obviously it's easy for us right now to look at a player like Fantilli and be like, how can you pass up a player like Adam Fantilli, like a clear cut number one center? And I'm not saying that Leo Carlson can't be that, but you already got McTavish and Zegras down the middle. I
right.
just don't understand what direction they're taking, and now you have Troy Terry on a huge ticket, for the next 7 years. So like, I don't know how that's going to pan out. They still have to re-sign Zegras as well.
Right. Like they're one of those teams that I look at, and as you were just saying, I agree. I look at them and I'm like, what is the plan here? Like, what are you guys trying to do? Are you trying to be bad again? Are you trying to be like a middling team? Like, I don't know. And the other thing is too, like, they don't excite me much. They're like when I think about the Ducks, like I don't think of a highly entertaining, highly competitive, you know, energized team. I just think of like, oh, like it's the Ducks, like
What I think?
whatever.
I think of Trevor Zegras.
Yeah, and even him, like
Yeah,
he doesn't even excite me that much, and that might be a little bit of a hot take, but like I don't know, dude. I understand why he excites some people, but like I don't know his whole attitude sometimes it rubs me the wrong way, and obviously I don't know him personally, so this is just what I'm seeing on ice, but like shoving people, laughing in their faces, and then kind of skating away, doing his little trick shots. It's like, yeah, those are cool. They're highlight reel goals for sure, but is that gonna lead you to success? Like I want to see you set teammates up. I want to see you back up your guys. I want to see you mature as a player and a leader on that team. If you're part of the future and you're one of those cornerstone pieces, I want to see you become a leader in Anaheim. Be the guy. Be the guy that everyone looks to. And I don't see that right now.
yeah, no, I completely agree, and honestly, I'm looking at their roster right now, and I don't think it's a team that's going to compete this year.
Yeah.
But they have a lot of young players coming up, man. Like again, I think their decor is going to be really special in the
Mm-hmm.
next couple of years. With obviously they have Drysdale, who's been
Yep.
getting a ton of NHL minutes. Olin Zellweger, who
Yeah,
was actually a teammate of our buddy Logan Stankoven over at Kamloops, and I was even talking to Logan today, and he just said how much of an unbelievable talent he was.
yeah,
Uh, that Olin was, and I'm looking at their roster right now and some of the things that they've done this offseason. Obviously, they brought in Radko Gudas,
yeah.
who we know, man. Bruins fans definitely know about Radko Gudas.
And
Uh,
you know what? With Gudis, that's a guy who can maybe start steering Zegras away from all the fancy stuff. Not fancy stuff, because now I sound like an old asshole. But
yeah,
like maturing his game. That's what I'm trying to say. Maturing his game.
so it could go that way. It also could go the other way, where Zegras feels like he can do some of this bullshit,
That
and
too.
Gudas is going to be fucking, but right behind him to clean up the mess. So I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, I mean, you got to remember Zegras is still a kid. Like, he's still young. He's still developing his game. He's still figuring it out. And just looking at this roster, like, it's a team on paper that obviously you go, yeah, you have a couple special players like McTavish obviously was a really high draft pick. Terry is good. Zegras, Drysdale, Cam Fowler. They got Nestorenko too. He was nasty at BC.
Yeah.
Um, and then you bring in guys like Gudis and Killorn, so it makes you wonder like what direction they expect to go in this year. Because I mean, Killorn signed a huge ticket.
Yeah.
That was a huge deal for a player like Killorn. I know he was obviously crucial to those Tampa teams, but what he's going to do on a young team like Anaheim, I don't know. I mean, obviously he's a special player, and we'll see. Time will tell.
It's almost like they signed him to that contract to kind of come in and change the culture a bit, because I feel like they're lacking identity. I don't think they have a full identity right now. I think
That's a good way to put it.
they're just trying to figure out who they are, and so they bring in this veteran who's won cups, who's been in a winning franchise for a long time now, and he's bringing that over to kind of help integrate that into the younger players in Anaheim. So I I think for Anaheim that deal is worth it. Killorn, he'll bring that that attitude of a Stanley Cup contending team over to over to Anaheim, and same with Gudis. He just came from a team in Florida, as we Bruins fans we all know, fucking went on this deep magical playoff run, so he knows what it takes, and he's bringing that over into Anaheim to hopefully spread that to the younger guys who haven't had the chance to experience that yet.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously you look at this team and they have a lot of promise, and you hope they can turn it around one of these years.
Yeah,
And I said this at the draft that Leo Carlson was, along with Bedard and Fantilli, like, he's an NHL ready center.
yeah,
So I would not be surprised at all if he's getting time as the two center. Maybe they put McTavish on the wing,
yeah.
and let Leo play that 2C role. But I hope they can kind of turn it around, and those are two perfect guys to kind of change the culture of a team.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you were saying, with Carlson potentially playing some time, it's going to be a big year for rookies in the NHL. That's exciting. I can't remember the last time where we've had more than maybe 3 or 4 legit rookies coming in and expected to play a decent amount of games.
Yeah, I mean, right off the bat, the first draft I kind of think of is the McDavid draft.
Yeah,
Just because of how much hype there was with the number 1 and number 2 pick,
yeah,
obviously being Eichel.
yeah,
I think that's really the last time that I can think of that. And that draft was loaded. That 2015 draft, they had obviously Marner,
yeah.
Dylan Strome was in Arizona. Looking at players like Noah Hannafin, Zaka, Provorov, Werenski, Timo Meyer, Rantanen, and that's just the top 10, dude.
Dude, that draft was loaded.
Yeah,
Holy shit.
as Bruins fans, we don't need to talk about that draft. But yeah, the top 10 was good until we got to about pick 13. Um, but and then you look at Barzal, Kyle Connor, Thomas Chabot, like Brock Besser, Konechny. It just
What a draft. Holy
yeah,
shit.
that was the last time I can think of that had this amount of like NHL ready talent. Like,
Yeah. I mean, dude, like think about it. We're talking obviously Connor Bedard, Leo Carlson, Adam Fantilli, and those are the guys that were drafted. I mean, think guys like Devin Levi too in Buffalo. There's other guys who are coming up for their rookie seasons who could light it up too. It's I can't wait for this season, dude.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it today. Like I can't wait to just get home from work, throw on whatever it's called, NHL Center Ice. I know they changed it, but I don't know what it's called. ESPN Plus, whatever, and just binge watch games all night long. I can't wait.
Man, last year was one of the first years where I was the same way, man. I would get home and that shit would be on immediately. As soon as I walked in, I would just leave it on, like be doing homework or whatever, and like you could keep that on even until like the late 10 p.m. West Coast like games.
Yeah, when you get like San Jose, Arizona.
Yeah, when you're up late betting fucking Arizona money line.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I'm so ready for it. Like it's time. It's
time.
I saw your tweet today. It was like, man, I'm ready for some, and I was like, I went back and posted that Bruins.
Yeah.
Man, I need hockey back. I need it back. Speaking of our Bruins, man, two big signings that we had this week. Obviously, the first being Jeremy Swayman. Signing a 1-year, $3.475 million deal, and then Trent Frederick signing a 2-year, $4.6 million deal. I said this immediately as the news broke on the hockey night in New England. Now, I think these are two very fair deals for both sides, and honestly, I think not to kind of bounce back and forth, but I think Jeremy Swayman could have easily gotten more than 3.475.
Yeah.
So I think to have that for 1 year until that cap goes up, I think these are two great deals for this team. What are your thoughts on these deals?
I think so too. And me and Mel were talking about this on Something's Brewing too last episode. If say Jeremy Swayman wasn't an RFA, right? Completely hypothetical, obviously, but say he's a UFA, he's just testing the market, whatever. He honestly could have probably got somewhere around like 5 or 6 mil a year. But obviously, since he's an RFA, I think the 1 year is awesome for both the Bruins and the player. Because if Swayman comes in this year, and same thing as he goes with Ullmark, they split it about 50-50, right? And they have similar seasons, maybe not the same, because, I mean, that's going to be hard to do.
Right.
But if he comes in and he puts up good numbers again, then, and correct me if I'm wrong, but he's an RFA again next season, right?
I think he becomes a UFA next year.
Okay, he becomes a UFA.
I do not hold me to that.
Okay.
I'm like 90% positive.
Well, either way, he gets to re-up his deal again. So take a little bit of a pay cut, help the team right now, and then I'm sure there were conversations behind closed doors too with Swayman's camp and Sweeney and Neely that take a little bit of a pay cut this year. We're gonna make it work next year with the money when the cap goes up and you're going to get paid. Like, we will take care of you. You will get paid. And that's just me. Obviously, no information on that whatsoever. It's just my thoughts on it. I'm assuming that's what it is. But having him for another year at that money clip is great for Boston. It's good for the player. I think it works both sides. Now with Frederick, that is huge for Boston. And it's a good deal for Frederick too. Correct me if I'm wrong. It was 2 years, 2.375. Was that it?
Yeah, the total was 4.6 million. So
4.6. Okay, so 2.3. Yeah. And for Frederick, that's a great deal. I mean, you saw him, he had 17 goals last year, 3 away from 20. If he's playing third line minutes alongside, say, Geeky and probably Jacob Lauko, that's a solid third line. He's going to get plenty of depth scoring. He'll probably get more time on the PK than the power play, but he'll probably be interchangeable. You throw him out there, see what happens. And you get him for 2 years. And the cap expecting to jump, a decent number next offseason. You have Trent Frederick at 2.3 for another year after this upcoming season. It's it's a great deal for both parties.
Yeah, I look at that deal too, and something that I kind of notice about Monty, the way that he coaches, he's not afraid to try different combinations.
Right.
And I would not be shocked to see Trent Frederick on that second line. Um,
Right. Right.
him, with the chemistry that him and Coyle had last season, um, I wouldn't be surprised at all if at some point if combinations aren't working, or even if it starts out that way, a line of Charlie Coyle, Trent Frederick, and Jake DeBrusk on a second line. I don't hate that. I don't hate that. And like I said, obviously, you have two players like Coyle and Freddie who are not afraid to get in the dirty areas and muck it up. And then,
Yeah.
and that kind of lets DeBrusk do his thing and play that role as a scorer on that line. I wouldn't be shocked at all to see that as maybe the second line combination. And then obviously with Marshy, Zaka, and Pasta on that first line, I wouldn't hate that. And then if that combination does work out, you have him for a little over $2 million playing second line minutes. That's incredible.
Yeah. Exactly. And like you said too, say because I think they're gonna, and this is just my thought process on it. I think they're gonna start the year with JVR, Coyle, and DeBrusk,
Mm-hmm.
and say JVR is not working, it's not clicking, he's not producing, he's looking a little sluggish. Throw Frederick up there, and like you said, that could work as well. His chemistry with Coyle was obviously unbelievable last year. One of the main reasons why he was producing as well as he was.
Yeah.
I could easily see that.
Yeah,
Easily see that.
and that line loses a player like Taylor Hall, but you're replacing him with DeBrusk, who
Right.
last year played consistent first line minutes. Who says that Trent Frederick doesn't put up another 17 goals this year? I
Right.
mean, he's going to be getting more minutes on that. Obviously the matchup, it becomes a little more complicated matchup wise because you're not on a loaded third line playing against, so obviously you're probably going to be playing against better lines, I'd say.
Yeah.
But I love that combination of Coyle, and I think just to kind of pump Coyle's tires, I think he makes everyone around him better. Just the way that he plays and how smart he is on the ice. I think he makes everyone around him better, and I think that's a perfect person to have. Alongside a player like Frederick, who's still kind of trying to find his way. Obviously, had a great season last year, but I would love that combination. And JVR getting third line minutes, I mean, I wouldn't hate that either. I'm sure he probably wouldn't either. I mean,
Yeah.
the way this team is going into the year, I don't really see them having a first line, second line, third line. I think it's just going to be like kind of trial by error.
Yeah,
And
it's like almost like you're rolling out the lines based on the situation. It's going to be situational lines. Um and like you said too with Coyle, I think he's so underrated as a player. He's I will say he's the best third line center in the league, more than capable of playing second line minutes, maybe even first line minutes. He might not get you 70, 80 points a year, but it's almost, and I don't want to compare him. I'm actually not even going to go there, but his two-way game is so good, and he is so responsible in the defensive end that he'll just eat up zone time minutes. You know what I mean? The way that he protects the puck, he uses his body. He's so big, and he just goes into the corner, and his puck possession game is unbelievable, and he's always finding the open guy. And like you said, his chemistry with Frederick, I mean, they played together all last year.
Yeah.
Like if you have to go back to it, it's not even doing it on like an emergency basis. It's doing it because it works. You saw it all last season, excuse me, work, and you're confident in putting those two together. They work so well. Coyle is so reliable. He's a very, very, very good option for that two seat.
Yeah, 100%. And I think his two-way game really took that next step playing with Patrice Bergeron. He's always been a responsible player, even going back to his days in Minnesota before we got him here in Boston. But I think him kind of playing with Bergeron and seeing how he operates, and I think that's really where he took his game to that next level. And like you said, I can't think of a better third line center than him. I think he's going to take on that second line center role fine.
Yeah.
I think he's more probably comfortable in that third center role, but I think he's going to do just fine. I mean, no matter who he plays with, he makes everyone around him better. He, like you said, he's responsible. He protects the puck really well, and I think whoever he plays with, I think is going to have a good year.
Yeah, I mean, we saw him in the playoffs last year thrive in that role when Bergeron was hurt. So I think there's too many fans right now pressing the panic button, seeing Coyle as our 2C, and they're going to learn quick that they were wrong to press that button.
Yeah, I completely agree. So earlier today, we got news that a potential deal could be going down this weekend. Elliot Friedman reporting that Erik Karlsson could be traded to the Pittsburgh Penguins, and that deal could be done as early as Sunday. What are your thoughts on this deal? And do you think that Karlsson kind of puts the Penguins back in that kind of back in a playoff push? And you know, does that deal even make them like top 3 in the Metro for you?
I don't know, because what are you going to have to like? What's Pittsburgh going to have to give up to get him? First of all,
Well, look at it from San Jose's perspective.
yeah,
What is San Jose doing? They're in a clear rebuild right now. So I mean, they're
right.
going to want picks. They're going to want young players. They're going to want young assets to help expedite that rebuild. I could also see them wanting some like pieces that can play now.
Right.
And if they have to give up, some talent that is in their lineup now, I don't think that makes them a playoff team at all. And to be honest, with them even acquiring Erik Karlsson, that does not put them in my top 4 in the division.
Yeah, that I was gonna say that as well. It doesn't change much for me if I'm being 100% honest. And I mean, yeah, we all have had this conversation before, but Carlson winning the Norris over 100 points, but he was still a minus player. Yes, that was on a crappy San Jose team, but Pittsburgh is really not a powerhouse. Yes, they have Crosby. Yes, they have Malkin. But then you look at the rest of their lineup, it's like Riley Smith, Lars Eller, Matt Nieto, Nola Chari, and the defensive end, Letang. I mean, you would probably put Carlson with Letang, right? If they got it, if
Well,
they got him,
if it's me,
or do you do the McAvoy Lindholm situation and split them
yeah,
up?
it's a hard call because I think Letang. I think it could be a pair that could work.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to see what else they have.
Well, right now, so with Pittsburgh, their defensive lines as of now: Ryan Graves, Chris Letang, Pedersen, Jeff Petrie, Joseph, and then Jan Ruda. That's their top 6 defense right now. So you'd be looking, if you added Carlson in there, you would probably take out Joseph.
I mean, I could see. You just mentioned they brought in a player like Ryan Graves, he was a solid stay-at-home defenseman.
Yeah, pair those two up.
I could see something like that potentially working.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you want to overload one defensive pair, especially a team like Pittsburgh, where they're very top-heavy, both offensively and defensively.
Yeah.
I think I would want to maybe spread it out more, and I think a pairing of Carlson and Graves is something that could work out.
Yeah.
Kind of let Carlson be that wild card offensively and kind of do his thing, and then have Graves obviously be that stay-at-home defenseman. I think that's something that could work. Does it put them in a position for a playoff spot? I don't think so.
Yeah, that to answer that second part of your question, does it put them in the top 3? No. No, it doesn't. That division's too good.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we'll get into our rankings after, but they're a fringe 4 team for me in that division. It's very close for me. I still don't think they make the playoffs this year, but that's actually a good point where we can kind of roll into our Metro rankings. Because this was really hard to do, man. It, very similar to the Atlantic. I was having a real hard time with this, and obviously,
Yeah.
you had mentioned that you were too, and this thing could go. This is like an injury away from completely changing.
Right.
So many ways. Do you want to start it off with your rankings?
Yeah, I'll start off. So we'll just go 1 through 8, and then you'll do your 1 through 8.
Yeah, and then we can just kind of talk about it. And I'm sure I'm sure they're probably a little different,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, you can start us off.
So, like you said, it could draw. It could go either way, right? It was so hard, but I really struggled with 5 through 7. That's where I was,
Yeah,
getting into the meat and potatoes of this division. But in first, I have Carolina. There,
we're
Rob,
already
we're already off.
we're already off.
There we go. So, I mean, you got. I switched it last minute, but you got Rod the Bod. You got that system working. You got Aho, Bunting, Jarvis, Svechnikov, Kotkaniemi, Natchez, Martinook, Stahl, blah blah blah. And then, but where it really gets into it, it's their defensive unit. It is so good. You got Jacob Slavin, one of the best, most underrated defensemen in the league. Brent Burns, Brady Shea, Brett Pesce, Dmitry Orlov, and then Tony D'Angelo too. I mean, that's a stacked defensive unit. And then you got Freddie Anderson and Antti Raanta in net too. And if they can stay healthy, that's a solid goaltending duo. And you have what's his name down in Charlotte? What is his name? The Russian kid.
For Carolina.
Yes. He played a couple games last year. He was on my fantasy team for a bit too. I forget his name.
Get to know
Yeah, look it up. Yeah, look that up and get that name back to me. But so I have Carolina winning the division. In second, I have the New York Rangers.
Yeah.
I think they're just a little bit more skilled, a little bit more experienced than New Jersey. You can't, bet against Igor Shesterkin. Their defense again is stacked. They got a stacked forward group too. But at 3, I have the Devils. Meyer, Heischer, Mercer, Bratt, Hughes, Toffoli. Toffoli's a huge addition. Same with Timo Meyer extension. Defensively, Siegenthaler, Hamilton, full season of Luke Hughes, John Marino, Kevin Ball, Ty Smith, Vanacek. Nasty team. So the top three honestly are kind of interchangeable for me, but that's how I see it shaken up. 4, I have Columbus. That's my little surprise here, but Columbus I have at 4. I think Fantilli's going to have a huge year. Patrick Laine is going to be healthy. Johnny Gaudreau, obviously. Boone Jenner. Zach Werenski is going to be healthy. They got Ivan Provorov back there.
Severson they brought in.
Severson, Peak, Boakfist, Good Branson. They're a fucking underrated team. Merzlikins in net. But here's where it gets a little shaky. 5, I have Pittsburgh.
Yep.
6, I have the Islanders. 7, I have Washington, and then 8, I have Philly. Philly's a dumpster fire.
Yeah, I mean that. I like what they've. Honestly, I agree. They're not anywhere close.
Yeah.
My favorite pick in this year's draft was Michkov.
I
I
love
the fact that Danny Briere is taking a chance, and obviously the relationship based on what Michkov said at the draft. Sounds like they have a really good working relationship, and there's an expectation that he could be over here as early as this year.
Yep.
I love that pick. Obviously, they're not anywhere close. Our rankings are not that far off, to be honest. My number 1 team in the Metro, I've got New Jersey.
Okay.
Like I said, you mentioned that decor, similar to Carolina, just solid all the way through. And now you're adding for a full season Luke Hughes, Simone Nemec. Like, again, you re-sign Timo Meyer, you bring in Tyler Toffoli. I think this is a team that very well could make it to could make a cup run.
Oh, yeah.
My number 2 team, Carolina. Love what they've done this offseason. Again, we mentioned the Aho, re-signing there. Love that deal for them. You're going to get Svechnikov back. You bring in a player like Dmitry Orlov. I love what they've done this offseason. My number 3 team is the Rangers. Like you had said, I think all 3 of those teams are interchangeable. That's what I happen to go with. I love them bringing in Blake Wheeler. I think that's going to be a good signing for them. Obviously, they lose Tarasenko. But again, they have whenever you have a goalie like Shesterkin, You have a Norris winning defenseman like Adam Fox back there. You still got the Breadman. You still got Kaner. Well, Kaner hasn't re-signed, but I would guess he's probably going to go back there. I would be shocked if he went anywhere else.
Yeah.
Banajad is nasty. Kreider, solid team. My number 4 team, I actually completely agree with you, is the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Nice.
Man, I'm not super high. I have my Calder pick. I still think that Fantilli's going to have a fantastic year. Going down their roster, man, what they've done this season, bringing in Ivan Provorov, bringing in Damon Severson. Like, you still have Johnny Hockey. You have Patrick Laine. You have a phenomenal leader in Boone Jenner, underrated player at that.
So underrated.
I think he's going to be a great mentor to Fantilli, and eventually Fantilli will take that first-line center role. Underrated team, and I think listening to Jarmo Kekalainen at the Hlinka Gretzy Cup, he is ready for this team to make the jump.
Yep.
He thinks that he's put them in a position to make that jump. He's brought in enough talent to do so, and I agree with him. I think on paper this is a team that definitely can. I don't know if they can win this division, but they can for sure damn well compete.
Yep.
Yep. My next team, I've got the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yep.
Anytime you have, 2 future Hall of Fame, 3, I'd say, Malkin, Crosby, Letang, if they bring in Carlson, I think that's a team that they're on the fringe. I don't think they fully get there. Like, it's too bad. I don't think they did enough this offseason to kind of, Crosby and Malkin are getting older. I still see Crosby getting 70-plus points. I just don't think that they're going to be able to compete with those teams like Carolina, New Jersey, the Rangers. I just don't see it, dude.
They're just not deep enough. They're really not.
Very top heavy, like we mentioned. Again, I just can't see them being able to play 3 periods with teams like, the Devils and Carolina. My next team after that is the Islanders. Obviously, they play such a fucking pet game, dude. It's just, they got guys, obviously, Barzal, Horvat, Sorokin in net. It's something, it's every year with this Islanders team, man. I don't know what it is and what they're missing. They play a very pesky game. I wouldn't say boring, but just, I can't even explain it. I just don't see them being able to compete with. I feel like every other team in that division has gotten significantly better where they've kind of stayed stagnant.
Yes.
Like obviously Horvat was an unbelievable addition. Other than that, I don't really know what they've done. Like obviously Lou Lamoriello, like again, this is another team that like, what direction are you guys going? Like it could go either way. You could start with a fucking rebuild or again, it doesn't seem like they're going to try to compete. Like I don't know what direction they're taking. They have a couple really good defensemen that I love, Pulock and Noah Dobson.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are 2 really underrated guys. And then I mentioned Sorokin, who's a top 5 goalie in the league. I still have them, that low. And then the last team, obviously we agreed with the Flyers being last. I have, after the Islanders, I have the Capitals. Again, we talked about this earlier with the Tom Wilson deal. I just don't see them competing. I really want to see Ovechkin break that record. I just can't. Again, I can't see this team being able to compete with the Carolinas, the Jerseys, the fucking Rangers. I can't see it happening. It's just they're a matchup nightmare, and I don't think they have enough firepower to be able to match up with those teams. So
and those teams' youth is 10 times better than like the Caps and the Pens' youth. It's not even close.
Yeah, I think overall we have like a pretty similar list, but I think like you had mentioned that top, 3, 4 teams are interchangeable.
Yeah,
I'd say 3. I think Columbus at 4 is a pretty safe pick.
Yeah, the top 3 are.
Yeah, barring any like catastrophic injuries, like that top 3 could easily change.
Yeah, it's going to be changing all season long too. It's going to come down to the last 10 games.
And call me crazy, dude. This was more difficult to rank than our Atlantic predictions.
It
This
was
was
because
more I feel like the teams were very like way closer than like the Atlantic. Like
yes.
I don't know. It was way more difficult for me at least.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It's because, like, I mean, I think Carolina, New York, and New Jersey, in New York as in the Rangers, I think those three teams are so similar in their skill levels and their depth in their lineup and their goaltending, especially with the well, actually not the goaltending, scratch that, but the depth just of scoring and defensively, they're all so similar, and it's going to come down to the wire. That is going to be, I think, outside of the Atlantic, this division is going to be must-watch hockey all season long, especially when they're playing each other.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a fucking dogfight, dude.
Yes, yeah,
Like,
oh
and
yeah,
not to mention, a lot of these teams already hate each other to begin with.
right. And you just saw the Rangers and the Devils have an insane playoff series last year. Like,
Exactly. You got to think that's going to boil over into this year. I mean, with the Rangers and Devils, they're both going to be right, competing for that Metro spot. Like,
right,
I think, like I said, the between the Atlantic and the Metro, they're both going to be dogfights.
yeah.
Must watch hockey, both those divisions.
Oh my god, all season long.
Yeah. So I think we can kind of transition a little bit. The Hlinka Gretzy Cup has been going on. I don't know if you've been able to watch any of that or hear anything about that. Uh,
I've been trying to keep up with it, but I haven't been able to catch a full game yet.
yeah, it's unbelievable hockey. Even though you were kind of shitting on my TV quality, but yeah, dude, I caught the Canada game. What was it, yesterday? I believe.
Mhm.
And man, unbelievable hockey. Just like and these are like kids too, like young kids playing this game, and like these are future like number one overall picks that I'm watching, and there were a few names that I was watching. Obviously, Cole Eiserman. I think we all know about Cole Eiserman. He
Yeah.
projected to go, top two, top three next year for the national development program. And I want to say he's committed to Minnesota. Um, Let me check on that. But again, he was one that really stood out for me when I watched the U.S. Um, and he just looks like a clear cut top pick. Like he's someone that obviously I know he's still got to play another year at college, whatever he decides. But he like just watching him, he looks like he was 2-3 steps ahead of everyone.
Yeah.
And he is committed to Minnesota from Newburyport, Mass. It's pretty crazy.
I was gonna say, yeah, he is a mass kid, so
Yeah. So
Sweeney.
yeah. Hey,
Hey.
maybe we tank and but yeah, dude. And then obviously, yes, the other day I was watching Slovakia and Canada, and Canada's just a fucking powerhouse, dude. Like
Yeah.
I was watching these kids, and I love draft talk. Like I love like watching these prospects and like kind of watching them evolve throughout the year, and like seeing the hype of them. Like you kind of like I remember watching it with like Shane Wright, and then you watch his draft year, and obviously he had a phenomenal year, and then see him at the draft and everything. Same thing with Bedard. Like you get to watch how much he progresses and like the unbelievable numbers he puts up. And there are a few names that I am really excited to watch this season. The first being Berkeley Catton. He's plays center for Canada, and he's the captain for that team. And he just again, he's unbelievable talent. They have him ranked right now, like projected to go top 10. I could see him easily going top 5. I'd say. We'll
Yeah.
see how the year pans out, but he's unbelievable talent.
Now, is he? So you said he was playing for Team Canada.
Yeah, he was on Canada.
So is he playing juniors or is he in the NCAA?
No, so he'll be playing another year for the Spokane Chiefs this
Okay.
year.
Okay.
So yeah, he's this Hlinka tournament. It's a loaded team, but most of these guys will go back and play for their junior team. And he's on a line with Michael Miza.
Yep.
I don't know if you've heard about him. He's not draft eligible this year. I believe he's going to be draft eligible in 25, which he's already projected number 1 overall.
I was gonna say I have heard of him.
16-year-old dude. He he just looks like he's 2-3 steps ahead of everyone.
Yeah,
he's on a line with that Berkeley cat, and they are just fucking tearing it up. And just both unbelievably talented kids. Watching, they would have like in between period interviews, and they just seem like years ahead. You know what I mean? Like maturity wise, obviously, like physically, they're gonna have to, get in not better shape, but they're bigger, stronger when you're playing with grown men. But man, these kids unbelievably talented. It's just I think back to like when we were like 16 years old, and like I'm like these kids look like
oh my god,
it's unbelievable, like how fast, how well they think the game, how far ahead of they are, like with all their peers. It's unbelievable to see, dude.
Chris, when I was 16, I could barely tape my stick. I didn't even know which direction to use the stone on my skates.
My old man was still taping my still tying my skates.
Yeah, I use like the little the tool where you pull it to tighten the laces up.
Yeah, dude, I'd get out there and my ankles would be at like 90 degrees.
You got the clear tape wrapped around your ankles.
Oh yeah. I'd still have tape on the bottom of my skates every time I go out there and just fucking eat shit.
Yeah, you go with your skate guards on. These kids are doing the Michigan and flying around. I'm
still wearing a neck guard and yeah, dude, it's so crazy to watch. Like
it is insane.
It really makes you wonder and really reevaluate your life, I guess.
Yeah.
I get outside and at 28 start practicing my Michigan for beer league and yeah. So, but yeah, man, this I had never seen this tournament and I just happened to like flip it on and I don't know why I'd never even like thought to tune into it, but it's like all future prospects and everything and that's one thing I really like to keep note of is these kids that because then you can keep track throughout the year and obviously, as Bruins fans, we don't really have to worry about first-round picks anytime soon. But you never know. I mean, if moves are made, I like to know who these kids are, and obviously with this U.S. team, the only 2 teams I've seen, obviously the Slovaks in Canada and the U.S. a little bit. This draft is going to be really special, and I would say even maybe equal to this year's. I don't think there's going to be a clear cut number 1. I think there's a couple kids that could definitely make an argument. We mentioned Cole Yzerman and Macklin Celebrini, who he's going to be at BU this season. I think those are the really 2 names to keep an eye on for this draft. And then I want to mention a defenseman too, Sam Dickinson of the London Knights. Super talented kid. I think he's a player that could potentially sneak into that top 2, top 3. By far the best defenseman in this draft. Just smooth with the puck, like just very responsible in the defensive zone. Jumps up in the play every so often. That's another name to keep an eye on.
Yeah. So does this? So is it? How long does this go on for?
Yeah, honestly, I don't even know. Like, so it looks like I'm looking at right now.
Because, like you said, like I knew it was a thing, but I've never sat down and watched it. And with work being so crazy, like I hardly have time to actually sit down and watch. So I'm learning this from you right now.
Yeah, so it looks like the 3rd place game is going to be tomorrow. Against the U.S. is going to be playing Finland for the 3rd place. August 5th looks like 5 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, 11 a.m. local time. So 11 our time. Oh, that's great.
Like we said earlier, we're not math guys. We don't know we're not time zone guys.
One of these days with prime time, we're going to get a math guy in here to help us out.
We'll put him on the books. We'll
get him back.
Yeah.
We'll owe him. We'll pay him eventually.
Yeah. Well, does he take Monopoly money?
Oh man, but yeah, so obviously, yeah, we talked a ton about these free agents. A ton has happened this past week, dude. Like, I'm kind of glad we were at the tail end of the week, because obviously today with the Tom Wilson signing and all the Bruin signings, I'm kind of glad that we got to do the tail end of the week. Um, yeah, so like I said, we're still in like you say the dog days of the off season, and I think this was a really good episode. Just being able to finally talk some like real hockey and not just make up fucking talk about Trent Frederick's arbitration here. And
Yeah, no, exactly. I can get exhausting, but so we're gonna play the Marc McLaughlin interview, correct? Right. As we finish this up.
yep, as soon as we finish this, we're going to be joined by current Boston Bruins forward Marc McLaughlin. He's also the captain of Boston College, local kid.
Shout out Bill
Unbelievable.
Ricca.
Yeah, Bill Ricca kid. Just such an incredible kid, man. So friendly. Like, we've been in contact now for like a couple weeks, and he seemed really excited about coming on and talking, and obviously he was really open about all the questions we asked, and
Yeah.
I'm really excited for him this season. I think he really has a chance to kind of make a name for himself, and hopefully we see him with the big team.
Yeah, man. It was an awesome conversation. Such a nice, down to earth kid. It didn't even really feel like an interview. We were just shooting the shit with him. Talking about obviously his time in BC, his time growing up playing youth hockey in Mass, and you guys will all hear it as the interview plays in just a couple minutes. But pleasure to have him on. We can't thank him enough for coming onto the show either. And I'm really excited for him. I think he could get some time with Boston. Maybe some looks on that fourth line. You could see him up with the team. So it was an awesome conversation, and I hope you guys enjoy it as much as we enjoyed it.
Yeah, before we send you over to Mark, want to give a huge shout out to Primetime Productions. Super honored to be a part of the team and see where this takes us. Again, thank you guys so much, and hope you guys enjoy this Marc McLaughlin interview. Thanks, guys. What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to Drop the Mitts Hockey Podcast, Episode 6. We are with Boston Bruins forward Marc McLaughlin. Mark, how are you doing, buddy?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome, man. Yeah, so happy to have you. How's the off season going? How many times? How much? Like, how often are you skating?
Been in the gym every day at Warrior, which is obviously great for me because being a local guy, being able to be around family and friends and also be able to be with the Boston trainers is awesome. And then we've had some good skates going on at Warrior and, in different areas of the city as well, probably like 3 or 4 times a week, I'd say for now. And then you start kind of ramping up as you get closer to, camp starting, which is roughly around September 20th normally. Or at least that's when it started up last year. So
yeah, obviously we saw you on the ice last night for the 3-on-3 tournament. It's amazing to see you guys, how skilled you guys are in such a small space and just the level of talent. What's it like playing with all those guys in that tournament and in the 3-on-3 and here locally too?
Yeah, it's cool. One of the good things about growing up in New England is that there's so many great players in this area. So, and obviously a lot of pro guys stick around here to be in the city. But yeah, so it's good. It's great competition. The 3-on-3 is always tough. It's a small area. There's not much space out there, but it's really good for working on those individual skills in those tight spots.
Yeah. You got something, Mikey?
Yeah, man. I was just gonna say, obviously, being a Mass kid, growing up in Billerica, you got to captain BC. What was it like, youth hockey, growing up in Massachusetts, playing in this system, and then eventually graduating up into BC and playing for the Eagles? What did that mean to you? How did that, turn you into the player you are today? And what benefits did it give you?
Yeah, I'm so fortunate. Like you said, like being from Billerica when I was younger, I wanted to go to BC, and you end up working your way up there. You work your way through Cushing and Mass Youth Hockey or whatever, and you keep just building your game as you go. And then you're like, wow, I'm at BC. Like, this is incredible. And there's so many. The great thing about that is so many great coaches to learn from, so many great players that that are pushing you and making you a better player, and a better person on and off the ice as well. So, and then you make this step and sign pro, and you're able to stick around your hometown, your home city, and it's unbelievable. And like I always tell everyone, I'm so lucky to be in this situation. And I know a lot of local kids would love to have that path that I've been on. So it's something I try to not take for granted and carry with me.
Yeah. So to caveat off that, how much of an honor was it to wear the C for BC? And man, that's a huge honor, especially playing for such an elite school, with such, great tradition. What was that like? How much of an honor was that to you? And then also, what was it like playing for Coach York?
Yeah. That's another thing. You can't take that for granted too. I was so fortunate to be, to wear a letter at BC. And, I just wanted to make sure I was being the best role model I could be for the rest of the guys in the room, whether that's, being vocal in the locker room, or it's, working as hard as I can on the ice to set a good example. So, that really, I think, matured me throughout my hockey career, getting that opportunity to be a captain at BC, and, gave me some leadership experience that, I still try to carry with me today. Playing for Coach York was unbelievable. Like that was like shell shocked when I walked in the locker room and, got to play for the best college coach ever. He's just such an unbelievable person. Like the way he carries himself, the life lessons, and then, on top of that, the hockey mind that he has it's like an unstoppable force. And, it speaks to, the success that he's had over the years, just dominating college hockey. So, it was such an honor to play for him. And, I still reach out to him, and he reaches out to me, and it's always good to catch up with him. Got to get on the golf course with him soon.
Nice.
Yeah.
How often do you play
golf?
Yeah.
I don't play too much. My game's in a bad place, but
hey, that's all of us.
Yeah. This summer I try to get out. It's nice it's a good way to catch up with friends too, and just kind of play around and whatnot. But yeah, it definitely needs to get better.
You're not alone, trust me.
Yeah.
So kind of staying on that BC track, obviously you had some unbelievable teammates: Matt Boldy, Alex Newhook, Mike Hardman, Oliver Wallstrom, Jack McBain, just to name a few. Do you still keep in contact with those guys? And what was it like playing with that level of skill? And do you still keep in contact with those guys?
Yeah. Some of them are actually here in Boston this past weekend, but so a lot of those guys were my roommates too. So, and I always say like the year Matt Boldy had, he had an unbelievable year. Like I'm not surprised and at all. Like all those guys are just such good people and such good players too. And like, I'm not surprised to see the success they've been having at the, whether it is NHL, AHL level. They've been playing great, and it made going to the rink so fun because those guys are so competitive, and our practices were, just top notch with skill and how we're pushing each other. So, I mean, that sets you up to go into pro and be a little bit more ready for it, because you're already playing against guys that are that competitive and that skilled. So yeah, I mean, it helped me a lot, and it was just it made the experience at BC that much better, because those guys are just like top notch guys, and made it so fun.
Yeah, you mentioned a lot of those guys being your buddy, and obviously like your roommate. I was just watching the Behind the B episode about when you first signed your deal, and you were still on campus and everything. How has life changed since then? Have you finally been able to kind of get off campus and find your own place? And what's up in like that adjustment?
Yeah, they kicked me out of the dorms, unfortunately. They wouldn't let me be in RA. but but yeah, no, it's been nice, living on your own now, and being in an apartment. It's just that's the whole process of being a pro, and that's the big jump. You're living on your own. You're taking care of yourself on your own. You're not being surrounded by your team or whatnot, whatever it might be. But yeah, it's definitely changed. I definitely miss BC for sure. Those being in the dorm rooms with the guys and whatnot. But yeah, it's been great. Spent most of the year in Providence, as you guys know, great city. Really enjoyed it there. Spent a ton of time with teammates there as well. We all live pretty close together. But yeah, it's been great. Now in the city for this summer, and spent a little time in Billerica too, catching up with my family and whatnot. But it's been great. Yeah.
And then also I wanted to bring up when you finally found out that the Bruins were interested in signing you. What was that like? Obviously, being a childhood Bruins fan, like what was that experience like? Signing that first contract and getting on the ice with those guys.
Yeah, I feel like it didn't really hit me till this past summer, kind of, because I was just going in there. Well, obviously it was great. I was super fired up. It's a dream come true and whatnot. But I was just like kind of laser focused and like a state of just dialed in,
Yeah.
So I was just trying to make sure I was gonna help the team and have an impact and help those guys out as much as I can. So I was like just staying super dialed in, and then in the summer I like talking with my family and whatnot, kind of thinking of the whole thing. It was like, wow, like pretty incredible that I got the opportunity to sign in Boston and stay home, play in front of family, friends, and have the people that have supported me like all through my hockey career be there for my first game, and to go through this journey and have them there is pretty cool.
Yeah, getting to share that kind of experience with whether it was the coaches or just mentors growing up, having them be able to come and witness your first shift in the NHL, come watch you excel in the national. I just wanted to ask too, obviously growing up being a Bruins fan, as we've said too, from the area, was there any, who was your favorite player growing up? Was there anybody, on the Bruins or any other teams in the NHL that you tried to, emulate your game after, or almost someone you looked up to as a role model?
Yeah, it was definitely Bergeron, as with everyone, right?
Yeah.
I play center. I played center mostly growing up. I played a little bit of wing now too, but I try to replicate my game after his. But if I'm half the player he is, that's a good thing. But yeah, I just respect his 200-foot game, how he plays. He's so honest with the way he plays. He's good on both sides of the puck. He's such a good leader. He has so many great attributes, and so I've always looked up to him as a kid. He was always my favorite player and whatnot. So obviously going to the team, it was like incredible being able to have the chance to play with him, and then to now like get kind of a behind the scenes look at how he operates and why he's so good, and why the team's been so good, and how he leads at the front by leading the way and being the perfect setting the perfect example and doing all the right things. So it's I can't say enough. Is like really, really cool to get that opportunity before he retired. And he was super nice to me, and I would always be asking how my family's doing and whatnot. He's always trying to form like a connection with every single player on the team, whether it's a call up or a new guy or the guys that have been around for a while. So I really appreciated that. You definitely made me feel like very comfortable going in there, which makes it easier for me, So he's such a good guy.
Yeah, I mean, obviously with Bergeron retiring last week, I think it kind of shook the whole city of Boston and
Yeah.
all of Massachusetts for that matter. And you just talked a lot about him on the ice, and just how he was such a model citizen off the ice. What are the biggest things that you're going to take with you that you learned from Bergie, for years to come in your own career?
Yeah, just the little things. Like there was different tendency. Like he was always one of the first. Being him and Marshawn are one of the first people at the rink every day. And I was a young guy, obviously trying to show up early as well. And they would be, older veterans are showing up as soon as the young guys. And like that's just building culture. And there's no one better at that than Bergie. So it's just different stuff like that, how you treat people, like how he was, like I said, he made me feel welcomed. He made everyone on the team feel welcomed. And then he brings, he has that level of inclusiveness to him. And then he, is absolutely one of the most intense people with how he performs and how he's vocal in the locker room. So that's different stuff that I'll definitely take with me. And I'm really happy I got a chance to play with him.
Yeah, man. He literally, I don't think, and it's been said so many times, but I don't think you can handpick a better person to lead a team into a culture change, be a role model for the younger players on the team. Like, I'm just glad that this city was able to experience him and really, not take for granted what he meant to the organization. And it's awesome to hear, everything about how he treated the younger guys, how he treated the system, how he set an example for everybody. It's awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, for sure. And, and that's the reason why they've, been on deep playoff runs and whatnot. And we're able to win in 2011 too, so it starts from the front with the leadership and those guys setting the example for sure.
Yeah, it goes to show, even with guys that were never teammates with him and still had nothing but great things to say.
Yeah.
Obviously, they play all those clips. One for example, when they're at the center dot with Tage Thompson and Patrice kind of talks to him. I don't know if you'd seen that, but it just kind of goes to show what kind of guy he is, and that's going to be a huge loss. But I wanted to bring up your first career goal, because I was just watching that.
Yeah.
And, behind the B, and they showed your family's reaction. And obviously, Freddie gave you a nice sauce, and he just signed that deal. Deal today. What was that like, scoring your first goal? Your family's reaction. It was so cool seeing. They were all emotional, but so happy at the same time. What was that like, getting your first goal at the Garden, and your family's reaction?
Yeah, I feel like I blacked out after that. It was really cool. I didn't see my family's reaction until after the game, and that's where it kind of hit me, made me emotional. Just they've been with me through the whole thing, and I had a ton of friends there, and all the people that have helped me get to where I was, and I had so many text messages of people showing they're saying, "Oh, I was there," whatever, and whatnot. So. The town of Billerica, there's a bunch of people from Billerica there and whatnot. So it's just like I said earlier, it's just to be able to share that with them that made everything. That was everything for me. Because like I said, it takes a village to get there, and you go through a lot to get to that moment, and to give something back to them and be able to have a great memory that'll, last a lifetime is pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. I can't imagine that kind of feeling. So that's awesome that you got to experience that. But touching on that as well, so you played 11 games with the Bruins in 2021, 2022. What was it like stepping onto the ice for the first time at the Garden in front of the Boston fans? I'm sure a moment that you'd been dreaming of forever. Not only just Boston, but just reaching that level of professionalism where you're taking the ice for an NHL game. But the fact that it was in Boston, what was that moment like? If you can kind of take us through that.
Honestly, I thought I was going to be a little bit more nervous and kind of jittery going into it, but I was kind of really relaxed and kind of just kept telling myself that I was ready for the moment, and it was just another game. So I just kind of went into it just jacked up, excited.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I said earlier too, I played with Coyle that game, and Coyle was like the nicest guy in the world. Just like we're having a day, like we're gonna be great today, like just communicate, like blah blah blah, like I'll be talking to you out there, like you're gonna do great, just play your game. That definitely calmed me down. Like I think he said that after warm-ups to me or something like that too. But yeah, that game was, I think, 8-1, the final score.
Yeah,
so,
it was a blowout.
That kind of helps too. We can be a little bit more relaxed, like and just go out and just play hockey and compete. But yeah, I just remember that like the building was so loud. The energy was crazy. So because it's kind of crazy, like being on like I was at a game earlier that season. Like I brought my nephew to a Bruins game. We were up in the balcony, like just watching the game, and like to be now like flip on the other side. I was like, the energy in here is just unbelievable.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
That is crazy,
Yeah. Man, I was in the building when you scored, and that was me up in the balcony, and I freaking like, man, I got a beer poured on me. It just when you scored, and just that whole game, it was so loud and just so electric. It was an unbelievable moment. I think a lot of people knew that. Obviously, you were a local guy, and like it must have been such a cool feeling to see all the fans know that you're a local guy and see you succeed.
Yeah, the support, like I said earlier, I had so many text messages after the game from family, friends, anyone that I played hockey with at any point, coaches and whatnot. And, so it was pretty cool to see that many people reach out and show their support.
Yeah. So this offseason, you signed a 1-year deal as a restricted free agent. And last year you had a solid season, 13 goals, 17 assists. What areas of your game have you really been trying to focus on improving? And to caveat off that, what are some strengths that you think that you're also trying to build off of?
Yeah, I think like going into this summer, I've been trying to work on my skating, the individual skill stuff, and whatnot. Just fine tuning some of that stuff so you're a little bigger, faster, stronger, a little bit more poised with the puck, and trying to make a little bit more plays and whatnot. But I'm trying to play with some more physicality and just play with a lot of pace. But yeah, I thought I had a really strong second half in Providence last year, and kind of was figuring out and adjusting to the pro style, and how many games it is too is a huge jump from college. So I felt like I was playing a really solid two-way game, because that's kind of what I take pride in, and being solid on the penalty kill, and and then just being like a power forward and getting my shots off and getting to the net and just being hard to play against. So I was happy with how the year went in Prov. Obviously the result wasn't what we wanted in the end. Same with Boston, but there's always things to take away from it and come back hungry next year, so.
Yeah, for sure. So like, what are your expectations for this upcoming season? Obviously there's had a lot of people come and go off this roster, and a lot of moves have been made. What are your expectations for yourself as well as the team as a whole?
Yeah, I think like anyone, you're going into camp to try to make the team, and that's the mindset you should have, and you should be confident about it, and you should go and put the work in to give yourself the best chance. So that's where my head's at, and I'm excited. I feel like I've had a really good summer up to this point, and just keep building, and you see how it goes, and whatever happens. You go down to Providence, we hope to be the first one being called up because you're on top of your game and playing well and whatnot. So, but yeah, expectations. I think for me, I just want I just want to be solid. I want to, like I was saying earlier, have that two-way game that makes me extremely reliable, whether I'm, playing for Boston and, just being hard to play against and being a force out there and just trying to create some opportunities as well offensively too. So.
Yeah, man. So obviously you're a younger guy, much like us. So you're definitely on some social media, Twitter, Instagram, all that. Some of the fan base is kind of giving you a nickname, McLovin from Superbad.
Yeah.
What do you think about that nickname? Do you like it? Do you want something else? Like, what do you think about
that? I don't mind it at all.
Yeah,
it's kind of funny, I think.
Yeah. Have like your face is photoshopped on that famous fake ID.
Yeah, it's so funny. My PC friends thought it was hilarious too. So,
that means they love you, man. So that's
you gotta laugh with it, right?
Yeah, have to.
You can't get upset about that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Well, man, I'd be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to Greg and Benny Thomas, obviously, for putting us in contact. Benny's a good friend of mine and played together at Oakmont before he went over to Cushing, or before he left for prep. I was just kind of that load that sat in front of the net and just hit whoever hit him. So, yeah, I wanted to give him a shout out. And again, thanks so much for coming on. We wish you the best of luck this season, and hopefully we can talk throughout the year, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Hey, thank you, Mark.
Awesome, man. Take care.